them up. It's time for 1010XL's Open Gym. Leading the break, here's RJ Saunders.
And it is the basketball show for the basketball fan. Welcome back to another edition of Open Gym. NCAA tournament well underway. Hope your brackets are intact, or at least not too messed up. RJ Saunders here with you. And for the final time, and we'll get to it later in the program, Casey Dobson is in the studio with us. We'll have him speak with us later in the show. But as always, thank you guys, the city of Jacksonville, for giving us a couple moments of your Sunday here on the Superstation. Your way on to the show, as always, is going to be the text line designed by Lifetime Enclosures. 641-1010 is the number, or you can hit us up on our digital studios, whether that be on Facebook, YouTube, or Twitter. Now, the question of the day, as we always have, I'm going to take this one from Jay Billis. He's the one who came up with it. I'm just going to now remix it to the NBA world. I don't want any Hall of Famers. I don't want any legends. I feel like that's too easy. We would say Michael Jordan or Kobe Bryant or Shaquille O'Neal or somebody like that. Who is a player that you miss watching play? Again, no Hall of Famers, no legends, just a guy that you said, man, I really liked turning on the TV and watching this guy play basketball night after night. He may not have been a top tier star or even a superstar from that matter, but I enjoyed watching him play. For me, that guy, it's Darren Williams, especially when he was with Utah. I used to love watching Darren Williams play. A lot of my game, if you want to call it that, when I used to play at the high school level, I tried to emulate Darren Williams as best I could. I loved watching him play. Hedo Turkoglu was another guy, especially the run that he had in 2009 for the Orlando Magic. Absolutely loved watching him play. I hated when he played the Lakers because he would always kill him. Gilbert Arenas was also another guy for me as well. So you get the idea now. Just let me know. A guy that you loved watching play the game of basketball that wasn't a Hall of Famer and that wasn't who we consider an NBA legend, but was a guy that you always had to watch. So we'll start here. And as an aside, we do understand that Florida Gators basketball is coming up. That will be on the AM side. It won't be on the stream. So I understand that they're going to be tipping off here shortly. So cut to the AM side if you do want to listen to the Florida Gators basketball program as they go toe-to-toe against UConn. What we're talking about here, I wanted to get to a guy who had a great year of college basketball himself when he played at the University of Texas, and Kevin Durant. But it seems that he may be going to a new team after this season. Maybe. He may be calling a new place home. And the teams, in my opinion, that he may be going to or may have a listening audience with is going to be that of the Houston Rockets, the Dallas Mavericks, and the Golden State Warriors. I think Miami's out of it. I just don't think Miami has the pieces to give to a Phoenix that's going to interest them. And for those who are wanting to report that the Lakers are going to be in the mix for this, go fundraise a trip to Japan or something like that. Stay away from my Lakers, KD. But honestly, which team do you feel would fit him the best? I remember he goes on a show or does an interview with Malika Andrews, and he said that he didn't want to get traded in the middle of the year. And I don't think that's ever been KD's MO. He's never been a guy that's wanted to get traded in the middle of the year. We've seen him do so during the offseason, even with free agency. But Bill Simmons, he does talk about Kevin Durant and the possibility of going to the Golden State Warriors. And as you know, the Golden State Warriors make that trade for Jimmy Butler, and it's been paying dividends for this team. And, if the playoffs started today, I think they would be facing the Lakers. I think that series goes 6 or 7 games. I do believe that the Golden State Warriors are a team that could hurt somebody's feelings in the first round. That includes the LA Lakers. It seems that Jimmy Butler has been a piece for them that has been able to up their play in recent weeks, especially when we thought this team was just going to be a squad that was going to be in the play-in. But if they had made the trade for Kevin Durant in the middle of the year instead of that of a Jimmy Butler, would we be seeing the same production level that we're seeing now from Golden State with the addition of Jimmy? Bill Simmons does not believe so, because he believes that Jimmy Butler just does things that KD doesn't want to do anymore. Here's Bill Simmons.
If they had gotten Durant instead of Butler, do you think the Warriors would be playing this well? Butler doesn't care what his stats are. Everybody on that team is sacrificing. Butler will have games where he doesn't even really shoot. Like he's doing like the 2015 Iguodala. I'll just play some defense. I'm over here if you need me. Oh, you need me? I'll score right now on my guy. But for the most part, he's completely bought in. I don't know if Durant at this point in his career would be able to do all the glue guy stuff that Butler's doing. I don't know if he's that kind of player anymore. To me, he's like, we need him because like Orlando needs somebody who could be like, I can score a bucket right now. I don't know if it was Golden State necessarily. There's some swagger with him too that I think is really important. That team has an arrogance to it again, and I mean that as in a good way. That team's got its thing back. The combo of Draymond and Butler, I think, and Moody you can see it's infected him in a good way too. Like he's carrying himself now. I just think that team has real playoff toughness. I'm really watching them now as a team.
Now, I don't think that Golden State would have ever asked him to do the glue guy things. However, I do think that you needed a body in there that can do it. Jimmy Butler's an all-star level player, but he's played with other stars before. He knows how to stick and move. Knows when to take his shots, knows when to be a little bit reserved. Let stars handle the ball when they need to. Now, I do believe for a guy like Kevin Durant, they also need another guy that can score in Golden State, which I think they could make the moves. They could give up Jonathan Kuminga. They'd probably give up picks. Maybe you do give up Moses Moody. If Steph Curry is saying this is the final run, this is it for us. Once the Jimmy Butler trade happened, I do believe that Steve Kerr, Mike Dunleavy and company are going to say, let's try to maximize what is, quote unquote, to use the term that Phil Jackson and the Bulls used in '98, the last dance. I think if you add a guy like Kevin Durant to this team right now, or even in the offseason, I believe that that's a team that you're saying is probably one of the top 3 or 4 teams to win an NBA championship next year. I understand they're on the older side, but to see what Kevin Durant, we talk about what LeBron James is doing, to see what Kevin Durant is doing at his age is something remarkable. To see Steph Curry and to see what he's doing, but he's been carrying the team a lot. And I just believe, for me, sure, you want a guy like Jimmy Butler who can be there and that can be that secondary guy and get you a bucket. And we've seen Jimmy Butler in the playoffs, what he can do. But Kevin Durant can take that to a whole other level. And there's just pieces of me that thinks Kevin Durant wants to be back in Golden State. I think when he initially got there, it was, I think if I win an NBA championship and I become the MVP, that this is going to now be, quote unquote, my league. I've dethroned LeBron. I've beaten LeBron. And the whole no rings are created equal. Not too many people agreed with him. I don't think hardly anybody agreed with him. Just from the fact of the matter of how he did it, right? I think that parade that they had, where it was Bob Myers, I also think Steve Kerr probably made a joke, some underlying joke that, hey, we were a championship contending team before KD got here. I think that hurt KD. Just a tad bit. See Draymond Green, I believe that game against the Clippers, KD wants to take the game-winning shot. Draymond decides to do Draymond things, misses that game winner, and something was said to the effect of, we don't need you here. We were winning before you got here. Kevin Durant mouths the words, see, this is why I'm out of here anyway. I think they've probably gotten over the hill. I think that was probably a phone call. If he hasn't mended fences with a guy like Draymond Green, I believe that's a phone call. NBA guys we see talk every day. I think with Bob Myers no longer being there, if there were issues, if he did take offense to what somebody like a Bob Myers or a Joe Lacob or what Steve Kerr said during a parade, I think he's over the hill on that. I don't think he was opposed to going to Golden State. He just didn't want to go in the middle of the year. Now a team that is Steph Curry, Jimmy Butler, Draymond Green, let's see what they do in the playoffs, and you add Kevin Durant, and maybe that's KD's last stop. I think Golden State is his best option at this point. But the team that also seems to be one of the leaders in the clubhouse would be that of the Dallas Mavericks. Here's my only question when it comes to Dallas. And I know there's some Mavs fans here in Jacksonville. Would all be forgiven with a team like Kyrie, AD, and KD in this now short 2 to 3 year window for the Mavs? Does Kevin Durant get you over the hump? I heard a lot of pundits, Charles Barkley, I believe Kendrick Perkins, I want to say Stephen A. Smith too. Dallas would be the better team right now over the Lakers. And maybe, we don't know. I mean, Kyrie Irving tears his ACL. AD only gave you a half. Maybe. But now you're dealing with a guy who's injury prone. Kyrie Irving with the ACL injury, at least from what I hear, that's at least 2 years. Or at least a year and a half. So he has to take at least the first year or so, or first 6-8 months maybe, to recover. And then he at least needs to take another 6 to at least feel comfortable, feel confident with that knee again. And this is the same knee he had trouble with in college. I think this was the same knee that he hurt the first go around with Cleveland in the NBA Finals. And he's getting up there in age. And can AD give you 65 games next year with a Kevin Durant? Can he give you 65 games and then 16 more in the playoffs to make the NBA Finals? I don't know if anything outside of winning a chip would make Mavs fans forgive Nico Harrison for what he's done by trading a supernova and Luka Doncic. And I just don't know also what Dallas has in which they can give up that's going to entice a Phoenix Suns team who I think they're open to firing Mike Budenholzer to get another head coach. But, I mean, outside of Golden State, when it comes to Kevin Durant, we haven't seen a head coach really be able to get the max out of KD and the team in which he's with. And I understand there have been a lot of problems in a lot of different places. But it seemed like Scott Brooks had something going in Oklahoma City. The butting of the heads between Russell Westbrook as well as Kevin Durant. Steve Kerr, perfect system for Kevin Durant. You bring in Steve Nash and, we don't need a coach. And you saw what not needing a coach got you. Scenic nowhere. And you go to Phoenix, and it's been, yeah. And I believe people want to say now that the super team is dead, thanks to Phoenix, but if he goes to a Golden State, would the super team era be back? The final team I talked about was at least Houston, but I hate the fact that sometimes when young teams want to give up everything in the cookie jar to get one star player, I think Houston's on the come up, but does Kevin Durant put you over the hump next year? Jalen Green, Alperen Sengun, Tari Eason, Amin Thompson. Do you want to kind of press the fast forward button on their development because you bring in a Kevin Durant who's up there in age now? Could there be another young star that you could put with that team instead of having to go all out for a Kevin Durant? You also heard Bill Simmons talk about the Orlando Magic. Would you, as Orlando Magic fans, want Kevin Durant on your team? I do believe that Orlando needs scoring, and we'll talk Magic basketball here with Dante Marchitelli after we hit our first break. But is that a guy that you would say, if Kevin Durant were on the Orlando Magic, now we're talking? And I feel like Orlando's in that place to where you could go from here to here if you had Kevin Durant. But now your window, at least with Kevin, because he's up there in age, now it's rather small. Now you still have a guy like Paolo Banchero. You still have Franz Wagner. Hopefully, if there was a trade to be made, you would still have Jalen Suggs. But now you have to win. I think you may have a 2-3 year window. So to which is why I'm saying Golden State may be the team he goes to next season if he doesn't stay in Phoenix. I believe there's going to be a lot of conversations that will be had. Minnesota could be a team. OKC, could he do a homecoming? OKC has picks from now until eternity. Is Kevin Durant a guy that you say, there's the guy we give up all our picks for? Or do you say, relax, the number one team in the conference? What, 11, 12 games over everybody else? Let me know who you think the team is going to be that's going to pull the trigger on Kevin Durant, future Hall of Famer Kevin Durant, 641-1010. When we come back, can the Orlando Magic, can they find their rhythm before we get to the playoffs? They had a great performance against the Washington Wizards. Now welcome the Lakers into town tomorrow. We'll talk about all that and more with Dante Marchitelli next, right here on Open Gym on 1010XL and 92.5 FM.
Connect with 1010XL.
On the line, online, with your friends. Now everyone's exchanging ideas.
Find 1010XL on your social channels.
Jags fans, here's your chance to score a trip to Green Bay for round one of draft night. Through the Everbank Draft Night Experience Sweepstakes, one lucky winner and a guest will be there live and in person to see the Jaguars make their first pick. To enter, visit everbank.com/draft by April 4th. That's everbank.com/draft. No purchase necessary to enter or win. Open to legal residents of the United States and D.C. 18 and older. Entry period from 3/3/25 to 4/4/25. For official rules, prize description, odds of winning, and other details, visit everbank.com/draft. Sponsored administrator, Everbank N.A.
Bueller, stay cooler with Bueller. Hey, buddy, you look worried.
Worried? I'm apoplectic!
You're what now?
I'm freaking out, Jason. Stupid water heater crapped out, so I haven't showered since Thursday. I start smelling a little funky, blow my big corporate job interview tomorrow. I'll end up settling for some dead-end career selling spatulas on the internet.
Dude, stay cool.
There's nothing cool about a cold shower, Jason. I mean, I know how that sounds, but
Bueller Air and Plumbing can get a new water heater installed today. The day you call. You could be smelling fresh again by dinner time.
wait, you can do that?
Put on these sunglasses. Whoa. Is that cooler?
Oh, yeah.
Well, life moves pretty fast. If you spend much more time smelling like this, you could miss it.
Stay cooler with Bueller.
Visit BuellerAir.com.
Join me, Max Fink, as I keep a close eye on everything that happens in Gator Nation.
The Gator Report, polished up by San Jose Collision on the home of the Florida Gators, 1010XL.
Go Gators!
Out with the old, in with the organized. Mia here for my friends at Closets by Design. Freshen up your home this spring with a custom organization solution. For a limited time, take advantage of our spring special and enjoy exclusive savings on closets, garages, home offices, and more. That's 40% off with an additional 15% off with 12-month special financing through April. Spring on this deal before it's gone. Call today to schedule your free in-home consultation with Closets by Design.
Hello, sports fans. Hicken here. Let's talk skin. I Am Beaches Dermatology are reminding you to wear your sunscreen. If you're an active parent hanging at the fields, in your boat to fish, or like to chill at the sandbar, wear sunscreen. But if you're the one that decided for years it's not cool, guess what? Cancer isn't cool either. So when grabbing the clubs for your tea time, gassing up the boat, or grabbing the chairs for your kids' games, make sure you bring the screen. Any concerns now? Give Beaches Dermatology a call online at beachesdermatology.com.
1010XL is presented by Farah & Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville.
Our next guest is the brain trust behind our show. He's also the reason why we have this show here in Jacksonville. We cannot thank him enough. He is probably one of the most amazing individuals you are going to come across as well in NBA circles. He's Dante Marchitelli of Your Orlando Magic. He is their host as well as the sideline reporter. He is also the host of Magic Insiders, which you can hear on 96.9 The Game in Orlando. Make sure to follow him on Twitter at Dante Magic. Dante, how are you, man?
Well, I tell you what, after that, I thought you were describing David Steele. So I'm a little thrown off. That's all. Dude, I appreciate that, RJ. You know, it's always love for you guys when I come on here. I'm so proud of you guys. Keep up the great work. And hopefully we're going to give you a very exciting final 11 games. Here.
Absolutely.
We've got a little play-in scenario. Hopefully we get into the playoffs. And a lot of work yet to be done. So it should be a fun finish to the season.
Absolutely, and that's where I wanted to start with you because I'll admit, Ryan the Hacker Green, who you've been on his program, and
yes.
And we were on remote location on Friday promoting the NCAA tournament, but we both had our computers up and we had the Magic game on as they were facing the Washington Wizards, and we were absolutely pleased with the dominance that the Magic were able to show on Friday. In your opinion, how much did the Magic need that win, especially in enemy territory?
Well, I love what you guys are doing for us, first and foremost. I love that you're watching the game, and I love that you're promoting the team and spreading the joy about Magic basketball up there in Jacksonville. I love it because we've got a ton of fans. We got a ton of fans up there, and they're finding you in Jacksonville. So I think that's fantastic. But that win was huge. You had a tough loss against Houston, but then Houston goes on and wins its 9th consecutive game after they beat Orlando. So that you just kind of ran into a buzzsaw. You played well enough to beat them, put up 108 points, but they're just playing at another level right now. So you had to make sure you didn't go up there and have a letdown against the Washington Wizards, and they didn't. Paolo Banchero, RJ, is just playing at another level. I mean, he is playing at an MVP level since the All-Star break. 29.5 points per game since the break. That's second in the NBA the last 15 games since the All-Star break. He only trails Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, who probably is the MVP, right? With the season that he's had. It's going to be him or Jokic when it's all said and done. So just a terrific year for Paolo. He continues to set the tone. And then Franz, most points per game for him against any opponent is the Wizards, and he continued that. He got you 21 as well. And I think what has been a problem all year for this team is just getting consistent contributions from, like Shaq says, the others, right? You got to get the KCPs, the Wendell Carter Jr.'s, the Anthony Blacks, and that's what we got on Friday. Every one of those guys contributed, and when that happens, you can put up 120 points.
Yeah.
It felt like an offensive barrage
for
this Orlando Magic team, knocking down 17 threes and 120 points. But when everybody's contributing like that, boy, it's a lot of fun to watch.
Let's stay on Paolo Banchero for a moment because I know it probably hasn't been the season he's wanted, nor the team, nor us as Orlando Magic fans. But my goodness, you bring up the recent stretch in which he's had, and I mean, it's been nothing short of phenomenal. To you, what makes him such a special player day in and day out, where he's able to have these performances and really is one of the stars of tomorrow in the NBA?
Yeah, he really is. It's the things are slowing down for him. He's finally got his legs under him. You know, he was playing like this right before he got injured, right? So right before that oblique injury that cost him 34 games, he was playing at this level, and then he's just kind of continued that since the All-Star break. So I think he came back. He had a stretch of games that he kind of struggled a little bit. And listen, he's seeing different defenses. When guys aren't knocking down shots, you know, then you can just double and triple team Paolo and dare the rest of the guys to shoot. And that's what we saw for a majority of those games. And so he had to learn how to play through that. He had to learn to pick and choose his spots. Now he decided, okay, I'm going to put my head down and get to the free throw line, right, which he's done more than anybody since the All-Star break also. He's hitting 83% from the free throw line since the All-Star break, so that's been huge. Not only getting there, but knocking them down. So I think this is the best he's felt in his NBA career. His legs are under him. Physically, he's there. And then here's the thing, too, RJ. If you look at it, you know, he missed those 34 games. So if you can get through this play-in, you're going to get through. You're going to get Boston or Cleveland, and obviously it's going to be very difficult to win that series. But Paolo's got 34 games that he didn't play. I mean, he's going to have fresh legs going into any playoff series. So you like that. You like your odds with that against no matter who you play. So I think just the way he's reading defenses, how he feels, it's a combination of everything. And I think that's what's making him play at this level. But, 22 years old, RJ, are you kidding me, in his third season, and he's playing like this? This is just unbelievable.
Absolutely. Continuing our conversation with Dante Marchitelli. He is the host as well as the sideline reporter for your Orlando Magic. Also catch him on Magic Insiders. You can hear that on 96.9 The Game. Follow him on Twitter at Dante Magic. If I were to put in the dictionary heartbeat of a team, I think in just a big, beautiful face that would show up would be that of Jalen Suggs. And it really feels like the team does miss that heartbeat, that Energizer bunny on the floor night in and night out. Are you feeling that as well, that the team misses just the mere presence of Jalen Suggs on the floor?
Oh, there's no question. For a long, diehard Magic fans that go back to the Darryl Armstrong era, it was kind of like that. Like you knew no matter, and I'll add another one into the mix, is Mo Wagner. I mean, those are two guys that are just the lifeblood of this team from an energy standpoint. I mean, every single night, you know what you're going to get from those guys, and that's a problem. And for the opposing teams, not only Jalen Suggs, what he does defensively, he'd get into guys, he fights through screens, he doesn't let his man into the paint. That's where a lot of our breakdowns are. If you can get through that first line of defense, you're getting in the paint, you're kicking it out for wide open threes, and that's been a huge struggle for us here the last couple of months. That didn't happen with him. Nobody's getting by Jalen, right? And then the energy, he'll make a big defensive play, and then he's screaming, he's yelling, he's engaging the crowd. He brings that building to life. He's detonated that place a few times with some of his hustle plays that he's made. So he's certainly a big part of this. He's the head of the snake on the defensive end. Everybody falls in line when they see him playing that hard. But then, not only that, he was leading you in threes made. He's one of your best three-point shooters. So for a team that is dead last in three-point shooting, you're not only missing your heart and soul, you're not only missing your best defensive player, you're not only missing an all-NBA defensive player, you're missing your leading three-point shooter. Right. I mean, that's a lot to lose in Jalen Suggs, in addition to being your emotional leader. And then on those nights where you struggle to score, you're barely getting to 100 points, Mo Wagner was a guy that would go get 3 offensive rebounds and 2 putbacks. He'd get to the free throw line. He is your best three-point percentage on your team. So Jalen Suggs in threes made, and then Mo Wagner in three-point percentage. So you're missing a ton, not only from an emotional standpoint, but from an offensive standpoint, and then what Jalen brings on the defensive end. So it's hard. I think the last 2 months, what you've seen is just how do we replace that? And then now finally realizing, okay, nobody can be those guys. You have to be the best you can in your role. And Corey Joseph somehow steadying the ship here the last 5 games. You're not turning the ball over as your starting point guard. I think that's been huge. So you've just been struggling to try to figure out what's your identity after you lost those 2 guys.
For you, you've been a diehard Orlando Magic fan. You've been, a part of this team night in and night out. I understand for guys like me, guys like Hacker, guys such as yourself, and maybe many other Orlando Magic fans, maybe not the year that we were expecting, but a lot of stuff has gone on and has happened with Paolo Banchero going down, Jalen Suggs, as well as Franz Wagner. But for you, just on the inside of it all, how do the guys feel? How is morale? Just understanding that, hey, this wasn't the year that we may have wanted, but let's finish the year out strong, and then let's see what happens once we get to the playoffs. How's morale been?
I think we're getting better. I think it's there. I think it's kind of climbing that way that you're talking about now, but I don't think it's been that way for quite a bit. I think there was some frustration with roles and trying to figure out, what's my role? How do I contribute? I think it's never been about, being angry about minutes or being angry about or feeling bad for yourself. It's like, okay, guys are out. I got to step up. And I think we've seen guys kind of trying to do too much, and guys have not been able to, contribute in the ways that they had hoped. I think there's so much frustration on RJ. This is by every metric you look at, it's the worst offensive team in the NBA. They just struggle to knock down shots. And I think in order to be the best defensive team like they are, you're giving up the fewest points per game in the entire NBA. So on those nights when you just struggle to score, it takes a toll. And I think whereas before you would buckle down and just say, okay, we just got to get a few extra steals, or we got to block some shots, or we got to get out in transition and make up for the offense that way. I think you had a lot of kind of feeling sorry for yourself and some frustration that the ball wasn't going in, and that was affecting them on the defensive end. So I think we are now through that. Okay. We realize, as tough as it was with Jalen, there's now finality and closure. We now realize, okay, he's not coming back. We have to do it ourselves. We have to get through this. And I think with that comes some closure. So I think within the last 2 weeks, I think they've realized, okay, we are enough. We can do this. We can figure this out. And, they went 3-2 on that road trip. They won a big game at Cleveland, won a big game at Milwaukee, and that gave them all kinds of confidence. So now I think we're now back to the team that's like, we can beat anybody. And I think it hurt. I think it hurt for a while. It took them about 5 or 6 weeks to get through that. But now I truly think that morale is at an all-time high. They understand that, hey, this is what we got. We're going to give it everything we've got. And I truly think they feel they are the team that nobody's going to want to play in the playoffs. And I think that if you get that confidence, right, going into the playoffs. Last year they were 5th in the East with all the injuries that they've had. There's only 5 or 6 teams that have lost more games to injury than this Magic team. If you can get 7th, if you can get the play-in and win 7th, and now, last year you were 5th, this year you were 7th, with everything you've gone through, I think you'd certainly take that and then just give Cleveland or Boston the best run you can.
Final couple of moments with Dante Marchitelli. He's our guest. He's the host and sideline reporter for your Orlando Magic. So the Magic welcome the Lakers in the town tomorrow. However, I just want to know from you, in this final stretch from the Magic, is there anything that you're going to be highlighting that you want to see from this team before they get into the play-in and make the playoffs, to where you're saying, let's see how strong and how connected they get on this one particular aspect of the game, whether defensively or offensively, that you think it will help them once they get to the NBA postseason?
Well, it's a great question, RJ. I think defensively, I think you're there. I think you're one of the best defensive teams. You've got length, you've got size, you've got depth, you've got guys, you've got a lot of guys that are capable of making life miserable for the opponent. I want to see J.I. get those minutes up. Yeah. Some nights it's 7 or 8 minutes, and he's giving you what he's got, and he's tired. And Goga Bitadze, same thing. It's the most minutes he's played ever in his career. It's the most points, rebounds, assists, blocks ever, and it's been that way for 2 months. For Goga. So more minutes than he's ever played. We have got to be a better defensive rebounding team. We were one of the best in defensive rebounding percentage, and we've kind of let that get away from us. Teams are crashing the offensive glass, and that's hurt. We've got to do a better job of getting stops and getting out in transition. I think that's a way we can get points when we struggle to score. I've got to see Wendell Carter Jr. play like he did in Washington the rest of the way. This guy has a chance to be a complete difference maker. If he gets back to that physical Wendell, rebounding, aggressive on the offensive end, he's just been so dismissive on the offensive end, just ready to hand it to anybody else. We need him. We need him to score, and we've seen that here the last couple of weeks, and that needs to continue. So we got to figure that out. We got to get Cole healthy. Cole Anthony, I think you're looking at a role where Corey Joseph starts. He steadies you. He just gets, the number. There's no coincidence that Paolo and Franz's numbers are through the roof with Corey Joseph as your starting point guard.
Right.
He's getting those guys the ball in their spots, and they're taking advantage of them. Cole has a chance to be the leading scorer of anybody coming off the bench the rest of the way.
Right.
He can be your microwave. He can be your guy you give it to here down the stretch. But I think if we can shore up that defensive rebounding, if we can find a way to move the basketball, ball gets stuck, we get tight at times, if we can continue to move the basketball, and we can get some of those other guys going here the final 11 games, I say watch out. I really feel that they can, even without Jalen and Mo, that they can make some noise.
Before we let you go, you are the ultimate Orlando Magic historian. Our question of the day has been, outside of Hall of Fame guys, outside of NBA legends, we just want to know from the listeners, who's a guy that you just really loved to see play night after night after night? And with you being our Orlando Magic guy, outside of guys such as Penny, Shaq, T-Mac, Hardaway, as well as Dwight Howard, was there a guy for you that you said, man, I really enjoyed watching him in an Orlando Magic uniform during his time with the Magic? For me, I said Hedo Turkoglu. I said I loved watching Hedo play, especially that 2009 run that he had was absolutely special. But for you, was there a guy that you enjoyed seeing play with the Orlando Magic?
Well, I tell you what, you mentioned all the best ones, right? Those are the guys. So all those guys are fantastic. And you look at, fortunate enough to have Dwight's entire career. He's going into the Magic Hall of Fame on Monday.
Okay.
That'll be huge.
Yeah,
that'll be huge having him in town. I think that's going to be awesome. We're greatly looking forward to that. So watching his whole career was fantastic. Having Vince Carter, not knowing much about Vince, but then seeing the kind of class act that he is, I mean, that was probably as classy an individual as I've ever encountered in this league. And it was an absolute joy to have him. Tracy McGrady every single night.
Right.
When you go from potentially having Grant Hill with you and then also Tim Duncan. I mean, there was a stretch there. We thought we were going to have all three of them. Then Tim doesn't come. Then Grant Hill gets hurt, and now it's just Tracy, and he still goes out and becomes the scoring champ 2 of the 4 years that he was here. And he answered every single media question. He was the guy that would talk before and after the game. I mean, he handled that with such class and professionalism.
Yeah.
I will always think that was the most professional approach that I've ever seen since I've been here, and I'll always be forever grateful for that. And then Ryan Anderson was just fun. J.J. Redick was fun. Those guys were great. Hedo Turkoglu, I had him here for 7 or 8 years. I still to this day don't understand him. I know you love Hedo, and I do too. But we did a segment called "What Did Hedo Say?" It was one of my favorite segments. He was terrific, and he was. It's funny to say, in sports, you kind of need that glue guy.
Yeah.
He was a guy that everybody kind of made fun of, but he could give it back to you.
Right.
And you need that in an NBA locker room, and he was great for that. And not only that, 6'10", he could do absolutely everything on the floor. So we've been fortunate, RJ. We've been fortunate. Whoever Magic fans pick as their favorite, you can't go wrong because we've had some great ones, and we're going to put arguably the greatest of them all into the Magic Hall of Fame on Monday.
Absolutely. It's definitely going to be special. And how can I forget one of my favorite Orlando Magic players as well, played with Dwight Howard. He was the guy that would normally throw the lobs to him, and Jameer Nelson. I used to love watching him play with the Orlando Magic as well. But Dante Marchitelli has been our guest. He is the host and sideline reporter for your Orlando Magic. Also, make sure to catch him on 96.9 The Game in Orlando with his show, Magic Insiders, and he'll be covering the game tomorrow as the Magic welcome the Lakers into town. Dante, thank you as always. I'll see you tomorrow at the Magic game, if God says the same, man. So just thank you for a couple moments of your time, man, and see you soon.
Always great to talk to you, RJ. Keep up the great work. Everyone in Jacksonville appreciates you greatly, and we certainly do down here, my friend, in Orlando. So, yes, I will see you tomorrow. Be ready. Get there early. Be ready to stay late. It's going to be one heck of a celebration. LeBron is back, right? So he'll be in uniform tomorrow for the Lakers, and our first look at Luka Doncic as a Los Angeles Laker, too. So in a big game, a game the Magic have to win. So it's going to be a lot of fun at Kia Center tomorrow. I'll see you then.
Absolutely. There he goes. Dante Marchitelli of the Orlando Magic. When I look at the Western Conference, man, I mean, there are a couple of teams that are in the play-in right now, the Clippers and the Minnesota Timberwolves. And I look at both of those teams and I say, I wouldn't sleep on either of those two teams if you are the Houston Rockets and the Oklahoma City Thunder right now, who are your number 1 and your number 2 seeds. I wouldn't sleep on those teams. I think that they would honestly give you a run. There's only one other team that I look at such as that, and they're in the Eastern Conference, and that happens to be the Orlando Magic. We will definitely see what happens. It all starts on Monday as the team takes on the Los Angeles Lakers. Every game is now a Game 7. Do we know who are and aren't superstars in the NBA in 2025? We discuss that next on 1010XL and 92.5 FM.
From the driving range to the 18th green, it's Brunch with the Tour.
Well done.
You've got to be kidding.
Tour news, tips, and inside info brought to you by
Clearwater Irrigation, 8:30 Tuesday morning on 1010XL.
Navy Mutual would like to salute all Medal of Honor recipients that have been given our nation's highest award. In 1990, Congress designated March 25th as National Medal of Honor Day, and it was signed into law by President George H.W. Bush.
Committed to the mission. At Navy Mutual, we're committed to providing high-quality life insurance to members of the military and their families. Because at Navy Mutual, our highest commitment is to you. Visit NavyMutual.org.
Have you tried golfing at the improved Cimarron Golf Club? If you haven't, tell you what, you're missing out on the best deal in Jacksonville. Now, many of you have received a postcard in the mail, and of course, if you bring that with you, $45 plus tax to play. That includes a cart, lunch, and a beer at the brand new Stone Barrel Tap House. Now, go to the website, that is CimarronGolfClub.com, and sign up for the Wild One Loyalty Program. That's the Wild One Loyalty Program, and get all of these specials emailed to you from Cimarron.
Get in the zone, AutoZone.
Welcome to AutoZone. What are you working on today?
I need new rotors.
When you buy 2 Duralast rotors during our spring sale, you get Duralast brake pads free.
Free?
With the rotors.
Well, that's great. What if I need extra stopping power?
You can upgrade to Duralast Gold pads for just $10.
So Duralast pads are free?
Yep.
And an upgrade is just $10?
That's right. Part of the spring sale at AutoZone.
Get in the zone, AutoZone.
Restrictions apply.
The great thing about live sports, you never know what's going to happen.
Oh, how did he pull that off?
Get the most live play-by-play on 1010XL.
Guys, want a golf course fairway quality lawn? TopDressing.com just landed in Jacksonville with the golf course secret for St. Augustine grass homeowners. A patented process that aerates and turns your turf into a fairway stunner. Serious golf course technology, but in your yard. Less water, tighter cuts, total neighborhood domination. No one else scores a perfect 10 lawn. Hit TopDressing.com now. You will own the block. Top dress your yard like the pros with TopDressing.com.
1010XL is presented by Farah & Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville.
Ranked team in the land, the Florida Gators, one of 4 number ones in the tournament. Go head-to-head with UConn. We'll have the battle right here on 1010 AM. It'll be on the AM only. It will not be on the stream. So make sure to cut your radios to 1010 AM once the ball tips off here in the second round in the West region for the Florida Gators as they continue their quest to make the national championship and hopefully win the national championship. It's been a while, right, since the Florida Gators have hoisted that trophy to call themselves the best in the country. Wishing the Gators continued luck as they made quick work of their first round opponents in Norfolk State, I believe that was. Before we do get to these callers, wanted to get this guy in on the program. Casey Dobson has now announced that he's leaving us here on Open Gym and on 1010XL. Casey's been an integral part of this program since its inception. So, Casey, man, any final thoughts, any final words before you get us out of here in Open Gym, man?
Man, put me on the spot. It's like I didn't know today was coming, right?
Right.
No, man, I can't say thank you enough to everybody that was here, man. Over the course of my career here, man, I started out as an intern, joining that little bus bunch. And let me tell you, man, just thinking back, like I was looking back at some photos, And there were some days out there, man, where it was pretty brutal. Like, I want to say that I stood outside of one of the hottest days in the NFL history and just played cornhole with people. And then obviously I did it during COVID as well. So that was an interesting time. Just the fans out there, getting to know them. And then when I finally reached out to Steve and said, hey, there's more to this to this radio station than the Bus Bunch, and I want to be a part of it. And he said, all right, what do you know about the board? And I said, nothing.
All right.
And he's like, all right, it's not that hard. And let me tell you, yes, it is that hard. But man, you guys, guys like you, E.T., JJ, y'all took me under your wing and you taught me the ropes. I can tell you, I know I've screwed up in here many a times before. I think I've even screwed up today once or twice.
We all have.
Yep. But man, it's been one hell of a ride, and I've definitely appreciated everything from you, Tom, Steve, Michelle, Taylor, Mia. I can name everybody, man. It's just been such a good time. And man, I've told Steve, I was like, dude, I'll stay in the bullpen, but we'll see what happens after that. But this being my official last day, it's bittersweet, man. And I just want to say thank you to you, man. And it's not goodbye. It's see you later. And I'll be listening, brother.
Absolutely. Now, how can people keep up with you if they want to on social media or anything else that you're going to be having going on?
I don't think I've ever been asked that. You can follow me on Twitter. I actually have to look up my Twitter handle. I think I'm CD_player84.
Okay.
Wait, it's not Twitter. Yeah, it's CD_player84. And that's how you can find me on X. Yeah. Wow, I've never been asked that before.
Listen, that we do things like that right here on Open Gym. It's been a pleasure working with Casey Dobson, one of the first guys that I worked with. We actually went to the stadium to watch Trevor get drafted with the #1 overall pick.
Man, now we need to see Trevor lead us to the promised land.
Now we need to see Trevor lead us to the promised land. Got a couple callers on the line. We'll start out with Gary. Gary, what's going on, man?
Hey, to Casey, best of luck in your new endeavors, sir. Enjoyed your time being on the show.
Thanks, Gary.
And to answer your question, RJ, I think he was one of the original Magic members. And I'm going to go with Scott Skiles, and I'll tell you why. I never saw a game or a moment that guy wasn't out there hustling. Even when playing on some atrocious teams, you always got 100% effort from Scott Skiles. And you can't say that about every NBA player. And I always respected that he never cheated the game. And I'll hang up and get your thoughts.
Scott Skiles I loved as a player. I wasn't able to see him much as a player. I think he was more on the backside of his career. But a guy that Shaq says he really helped him when he first got into the association was also a pretty good coach. There in Milwaukee, I believe he was Brandon Jennings' first coach. When Brandon Jennings got into the NBA, very, very much of an old school guy. Probably was last of the dying breed. Wasn't able to stay long in the NBA as a coach, at least when I was able to watch him. I do remember his Milwaukee days. I believe he had one more stint somewhere else. I forget where. But definitely a guy who people absolutely respected as a point guard. Wasn't flashy, but respected and loved as a point guard in the NBA. I've had a couple texts here, and I've seen names such as Spud Webb. A lot of guys loving Jason Williams, the Kings Jason Williams. Absolutely, without question, one of my favorite iterations of white chocolate. But as we saw, the Sacramento Kings were able to get a lot further when they traded for a guy by the name of Mike Bibby. But Jason Williams always turning on your TV set for him. We also got Bill Laimbeer, which was an interesting one. One of the first stretch bigs in the NBA before that became cool. Charles wants to get on. Charles, how are you?
Hey, doing okay. I'm recovering. I had a procedure Friday, and just a quick one. And while I was in the hospital in the recovery room, I watched Michigan and Iowa State women's. And I'm wondering why I've never heard of Audie Crooks until I saw her on TV. That woman is a powerhouse on the floor. Why didn't she get any Caitlin love?
I think with with the WNBA now and with women's basketball, it does seem to me that you do want to have a lot of players that are going to be able to push the needle when it comes to the game of basketball. I think you understand now that these women can play. That, you know,
she was like a female Bill Lambier. I mean, not to, make that kind of comp, but man, she like had a force field around her.
Absolutely. And I mean, Charles, thanks for the call. I mean, listen, I think as of now, what you're wanting to see from these women is now marketability. The WNBA used to have a saying back in the late 90s talking about "we got game." I think it's understandable now these women have game. It is to be respected, but you need those individuals like a Caitlin Clark who kind of transcends the WNBA. Juju Watkins from USC is going to be a young lady that's going to transcend the WNBA game. That's going to bring more eyes to the WNBA game. I think that's what they're going to be looking for now. If you are a ball player that is good and can run at the professional level, I think that only adds to the product. I think women's basketball still has a little bit of a ways to go, but we've seen since Caitlin Clark, Angel Reese, Juju Watkins, and others that it's definitely and certainly headed in the right direction where we're going to see more women stars being more of a national brand. You do have to be special. We really haven't seen a woman really transcend the game of basketball. I think Cheryl Miller could have done it if they had a WNBA at that time. There's a lot of female basketball players I knew growing up watching because I just love the sport. You had Lisa Leslie, you had Shamika Holslaw, Candace Parker, Cheryl Swoops, and others that did great things for the game. Now you just need those individuals who can transcend it. Maya Moore had a chance, and I think she did with the time in which she was in the league. But we just weren't able to see it in its totality because she decided to leave early. Diana Taurasi, to me, is the GOAT of women's basketball. Sue Bird, one of those pioneers as well, one of those pillars in the WNBA. This is now trying to get individuals with this social media era. If the WNBA takes advantage of it and continues to take advantage of it, you are definitely going to see a lot of more women's players get a lot of love. So women's basketball is on the up and up and is on the come up when it comes to that of college and the WNBA. We were supposed to get into what makes a superstar and what doesn't make a superstar, at least in Gilbert Arenas and Stephen A's case. Stephen A was on Gilbert Arenas' podcast talking about what does and doesn't make a superstar. But we are out of time here on the Open Gym, so we will certainly get to that next week. But Casey, just once again wanted to thank you for everything you've done with this show and here on the station. And we understand that this is going to be the last time that we see you, but you certainly will be missed here at 1010XL. Let me be the first to tell you.
Appreciate that, brother. Again, love you. Do anything for you. Let me know if you ever need anything.
Absolutely. There he goes, Casey Dobson. And there we go on the Open Gym. Thank you so much for being on here with us. So for Casey Dobson, I'm RJ Saunders. Reminder, the Florida game will be on 10:10 a.m. as they face UConn in the second round. So make sure to catch all the Florida action if you are in your car or just want to listen to the Florida Gators on the radio station instead of watching on TBS, True TV, or wherever the game is being broadcasted. We will talk to you next week right here on Open Gym.